Good morning and happy Mother's Day. Welcome. Beautiful ladies we have up here. So we're going to be doing things a little bit different today. We have invited a couple mothers to join us, and I am just going to be asking them some questions about mothering, and we'll hear what they have to say. I do want to give a little disclaimer. You're going to get a lot out of this even if you're not a mom. Men, you can get a lot out of this as fathers, the things they're going to share. And what I found from the questions is you can actually get a lot out of this just being a child. And we're all children. We were brought here somehow, whether our parents are with us or not still. So definitely just get as much wisdom and insight and advice as you can from this morning. I'm really, really excited about this. And I always love doing this. We've done it a couple years now with different moms. And I've gotten the privilege to be able to ask the questions and seek the wisdom of some incredible women and friends. And it's extra special this year being an expecting mom. So very, very nice. Thank you. But we're going to start off by I'm going to have everyone introduce themselves, share how many children they have and their ages, so we have a little context to their answers. So we can start with you.
I am Debbie Schofield. I have 2 adult children, 39, 33, and I have 3 grandchildren, 6, just about 4, and 5 months. I also have a step-granddaughter who is about 27, and a step-great-granddaughter who's 10.
I'm Grace Walsh. I have 2 children. My son is 20, and my daughter is 16.
Good morning, Sonia DeMello. I have 3 children, a girl and 2 boys. My daughter's going to be 20 in July, and the boys will be 18 and 14 in August.
Awesome.
I mean, 19 and 14.
You lose track. It's fine. You ladies are naturals up here. All right, so let's get started on the first question. So the first one comes from Luke 1, when the angel Gabriel visited Mary to foretell the birth of Jesus. Later in the chapter, Mary exclaimed her praise to God through a beautiful song. What is the most rewarding part of being a mom, and how do you see it as a blessing from God in your life and something that God should be praised for? Whoever would like to start can take it away.
I think when it comes to the rewarding part of being a parent is seeing your children turn into helpful, kind people. You know, we all pray for success for our children, but success always doesn't come through their academics or their professional life. I think successful children are kind. They're helpful. They want to give back to society. They want to raise, helpful, kind, loving children. And then, what do I see it as a blessing from God? Part of God's creation and grand design, the fact that these children come from us. We are a vessel, basically, that these children come through. We are gifted them by God for a short period of time, and we do the best that we can. And it's a blessing to be able to see these children grow and develop, and to know that God used me to have these children, because I don't know what they're going to go out and do in life. I don't know how they're going to touch other people in life. And so I think that's just a huge blessing to know that I'm part of the grand design, but I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how it's all going to work out. So.
That's good. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Debbie said it. It's a blessing being a mom. It's truly a gift that God has given us, being a mom. It's a blessing to see our children small. You could teach them. I stayed at home for them. I was their influence. I prayed with them. I raised them. I taught them a lot. And seeing them also react with their friends, talk to their friends, hanging out with their friends, being who they are. And also it's amazing to see them grow and be more independent. It's such a joy to see their independence coming out.
Absolutely, I completely agree. You know, we want the best for our children. We want them to grow up and be successful individuals, and I think that's what we want for all our children. But you know, in my perspective, from where I am right now as a mother with my children's ages, it's just great to see them growing into these considerate and strong, resilient humans who are, you know, dealing with life, because at all ages, whether it's you know, middle school or high school or in college, there are a lot of things that they face, and it's given us an opportunity to show them that life isn't easy, but with God walking beside you, you know, it makes it easier. You know, it doesn't mean life's going to be perfect, doesn't mean you're not going to have your own struggles and challenges, but God gives us that grace and that strength to walk through those things. And so it's so rewarding and priceless in so many different ways. And children are a blessing, even though life, you know, is it's not easy, and it's a lot of hard work. You know, and they're, you know, as I think about being a mom many years ago, my daughter's going to be 20. I, you know, been a Christian for a long time, but I remember that prayer walk not being as strong or as consistent as I wanted it to be. And then as soon as I became a mom, I thought, wow, like what a miracle, what a responsibility, and that conviction of making sure that I was praying for that child and praying for my, you know, other children every single day, every single night. It was such a blessing to me and made me even closer to God. So, you know, I thank them for blessing me as I bless them.
I believe the gift is definitely the prayer. A mom's prayer is amazing. It's powerful. We need to do that more and more. We need to be strong for them. We need to be willing to even apologize to them when you're wrong, you know, and that shows a lot that they're growing, we're growing, we're new to this, and it's powerful.
Really good stuff. It's very encouraging to hear how rewarding it is, because, you know, you hear a lot about how difficult it can be. So as a soon-to-be mom, it's just so beautiful to hear the rewarding parts, and just it's also worth it. And I love how you shared that it brought you kind of closer to God, made you pray more, things like that. That is really, really powerful. Anything else before we move on to the next question? All right. So this question also comes from Luke 1. Mary visited her older cousin Elizabeth to stay with her for 3 months. When Mary greeted Elizabeth, she was instantly filled with the Holy Spirit. So the question is, why is it important that women encourage other women? And what encouragement can you give a woman now that may be struggling to bear children?
I was really praying about and thinking about this, and I actually have a small story. Before I miscarried before my son, and I was at work, and I went to have an ultrasound done, and from the ultrasound, the technician said, "Oh, go to across the street, go to the office, and the doctor will give you the results." And so I went, and the doctor walked in, and he sat right next to me, and I already knew what he was going to say. And he's like, "I'm so sorry, Grace." It wasn't what I expected. I was really surprised. I was shocked. I started crying. And where I work is very close to my house and the doctor's office, so I called work, and I said I wasn't coming back, that I wasn't feeling good and I wasn't coming back, and they asked what happened, and I explained what happened, and they were like, "Don't come back, that's fine, take the time that you need." So I was leaving the doctor's office. As soon as I walked out the door, there was a coworker there who just opened up her car door and said, "Come on in." I live so close there. She goes, "You can't walk home," and just gave me a hug, and I just cried. And she drove me home, and she's like, "Did you call Kenneth?" And I said, "No, but I will." But to me, that was so comforting that she would leave work and was considerate and thinking of me, of my loss, of my feelings. And I think as women, we need to do that for each other. We might not know exactly what to say when someone goes through it, but sometimes not saying anything is the best way. Staying quiet, giving her a hug, holding her hand, saying I'm here for you is the best words that you can say.
Thank you for sharing that.
And then I think when women are going through struggles, right? You know, I have a sister who struggled with multiple losses before she had her babies, friends who have had multiple losses. I've had a loss. And as a Christian, I think sometimes we're tempted to just say, it's in God's time. It'll happen. God's got this. But when a woman is going through struggles like that, and they've gone through multiple struggles, that isn't always what they want to hear. And it's not what they need to hear. Sometimes they just need quiet. They need to know they're there for a hug, you know, just to hug them, just to say, I'm praying for you. Pray in that moment. But sometimes they just need to be held. They just need to know that someone loves them, someone cares for them. You're there to listen. You're there to just have a shoulder to cry on. Sometimes no words need to be said, you know, silent prayers. And I think a woman going through struggles, especially when they see their sister having multiple children and they're still trying to have one, that's hard. And sometimes there are no words for that. And that's when prayer comes in and just being there. And also, as far as encouraging each other, you know, today there's so much in social media everywhere that you see, you know, women are supposed to do everything. The career, you know, the being in great shape, making sure you look this way, you dress that way, whatever. And it's not always like that. It is not always going to be like that. And so I think we just need to encourage each other. If you choose to stay home and be a stay-at-home mom, fabulous. And there should be nothing wrong with that, but a lot of times you tell someone you're a stay-at-home mom and they're like, you know, oh, that's what you do. Well, that is the most important job in the world, is to raise these children to be lovers of Jesus. So, you know, you just need to encourage them that what you are doing, that is the most important thing. Whether it's up to their standards or not, it doesn't matter. We just need to encourage each other.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Encouragement is something I think we take for granted. It's something that we all need. I think women in general, or mothers, you know, can feel very alone. There's so much that we have to go through on a daily basis, you know, whether it's getting the kids out to school or to, well, you know, going to work, if you don't work at home as a stay-at-home mom, or even, you know, getting to church on Sunday mornings. It's challenging to you know, guide children and to make them do what you need them to do, and sometimes you feel alone. You feel like you're the only one that's having those struggles. So I think it's really important to share with each other, because then you realize that you're not alone, and then we can encourage each other and redirect our thoughts and redirect our priorities. You know, sometimes, you know, you're not putting God first in that situation, and so what happens is, you know, you end up yelling or leading too fast instead of taking a step back and slowing down. And so I think, as hard as it is for women to share, I think it's one of the most important things that we can do, and that we need to encourage each other. You know, I didn't personally suffer a loss, but I have two family members that had a very hard time conceiving, at least 5 years, and so it was very discouraging for them. And you know, as a mom already, all I could do is pray for them and randomly give them a quick note that I was thinking about them, because I think a positive mindset goes a long way. And sometimes, you know, you could start to feel discouraged. Am I ever going to have children? Is this ever going to happen? And you start to get negative, and then you forget to trust in God and to keep that faith. And so when you have a good support system, friends and family and people that know what you're going through, you know, you get that random message or that random call, I'm thinking about you, I'm praying for you, and, you know, and try to bring out the positive in the situation, such as, you know, in the meantime, take advantage of listening to God. You know, what does God want for your life? You know, do you keep trying for years and years and years, or Does God have a different plan for you? So listen to his voice in whichever way that may be. And then in the meantime, a lot of experiences. Mothers that are waiting to conceive or waiting to have children have the luxury of time, of watching their family members, nieces, nephews, cousins, other friends raise their children, and learning some to-dos and to-dos and to-don'ts, and do's and don'ts. So
That is so true, because I had my children young, and I had a sister who had them older, and sometimes I'm like, I'm glad I had mine young, but at the same time, I see that my sister having them a little bit older, like, she had a little more wisdom, and I'm like, So it's like that flip side. There is no young, old. It doesn't matter.
Very good. I think that's all really good advice. I know we all probably know somebody that's struggling, and it can be hard to know how to be there for them. I actually grabbed some prayer requests from the prayer wall. I was looking at it, and 3 of them on there are for a baby or a family. And so, our church is going through this, our friends and family. I personally have went through multiple losses recently, and there is nothing like the prayers of your friends when you are like too weak to pray for yourself. So definitely be that for one another. And I think that was the biggest advice that these women gave, was you don't always have to have the words to say, just be there and pray for them, for sure. And another thing that Sonia said was just kind of that community of people that you could just randomly send a text to. It's so incredible to have. And I wanted to encourage anybody, if you don't feel like you have that, it can be easy to kind of just bottle up our emotions or say, I don't want to burden anybody, or nobody cares, or I don't have anybody that I can share that with. If you're in this room, you do, because there are so many ways that you can connect with people. There are specifically moms, there's mom groups, there's women's groups that you can join and find those connections and people that can be what they've shared for you, which is amazing. And that's not only for women or moms as well. The Bible says there will be trials and tribulations in this world, so we all have things that we're suffering through, and we weren't made to walk it out alone. So find those people if you don't have it. God is always with you, but he gave us one another to really show us physically that he is there and he's with us. So I think that's really, really beautiful and important, and can be very hard to do, and to be vulnerable and open ourselves up to that. Anything else on that last one? Okay, we're going to move to the third question. It comes from Matthew 23:27. Jesus entered Jerusalem and lamented, "How often I have wanted to gather your children together as a hen protects her chicks beneath her wings, but you wouldn't let me." So, as your children grow older, how do you navigate their natural desire for independence and the poor choices that they are prone to make?
So having the oldest children up here, you try and steer your children in the right direction when they're young. You try to model a godly life. You try to, like in Proverbs, train a child in the way they should go, and when they are old, they will not leave. So I keep that close at heart, because yes, we did bring our children up in the church, and we did, teach them the best we could. But they're going to make those decisions in life, and they're not always going to be wise decisions. And there are times where literally, our daughter went away to school, our son went away to school, they weren't close by. Prayer was what we had. That was what we could hold on to, is that they would come back to the church. And it may not be in my lifetime. I don't know. Yeah, I'm hoping that it's in my lifetime, but we don't know. So I have to cling to that verse, that they will. And if you push them a little bit too hard, they're going to push back. I mean, if they're a strong-willed child, they're going to push back. And so you have to very gently kind of steer them in the way you want them to go, and encourage them. But ultimately, there's going to be times where something happens, and your faith is what's going to get you through as a parent. There's a lot of struggles like that, It's just part of raising children. And my faith is what I could cling to for them. As a mother, we carry them, we pray for them. You know, dads pray for them. I mean, that's the strongest thing we can do, but as they get older, inevitably they're going to make some bad decisions, and sometimes you have to try and pick up the pieces for them and do the best you can to get them through.
I really like how you said you had a verse that you clung to, because the Bible has all the answers that we could ever need. So read your word daily. You might not need what you're reading that exact moment, but you're going to need it at some point. And it's so incredibly powerful when you have one verse that you can just lean on during a certain situation. I know I've done that different times in my life with different verses. And it's just that constant encouragement and reminder that God's promise is always stands and will always be fulfilled. And the fact that you lean on that verse for your children, I think, is amazing, because that keeps you going, because it could be years and years and years that you're praying the same prayer and not seeing it. But you know the word, and the word is true. So that's good. Thank you.
Well, I'm going through that phase right now. Both of my children, 20 and 16, there's difficult times and there's good times. Especially, like, I see my daughter. She's 16. Just a few weeks ago, we went to a college to see what her future would look like. She still has another year at home, so she's not leaving yet. Thank God. I'm not ready yet. But it was seeing her shine, like seeing her like just glow, like, I like this college. I really want this college. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And trying to direct her paths. Like, Hannah, it's a little far. It's a little expensive, you know, like, let's look at other colleges. This is your first college. But her eyes just like, I love it, Mom. And I'm like, oh, okay, let's wait. And then I have my son, who's 20, who maybe a few years back, it was rough. It was really hard. We had a rough patch. I had a hard time. He says it was hard for me to let go, and I didn't think I was having a hard time letting go. I think he was making poor decisions, you know. And I also love the fact that definitely go to God first. He definitely gives you the answers, but sometimes the answers is not when you want to. You're like, God, I'm asking you right now, like, answer me. He's not answering you. But you have your friends you could cling on to and say, help me out. What am I doing? How can I overcome this? Help me out. Pray with me. Be here with me. I need help. I would say I need help. It was a rough patch. It's getting better, but it's still sometimes could be rocky. But I absolutely believe in prayer. Prayer makes a huge difference.
Common theme, prayer. Can't live without it, for sure, especially as they grow older. You know, it just not different kind of prayer, but prayers for wisdom and conviction as they go out into the world. It's very hard letting go. You know, I have a sophomore in college, and when she wanted to move away to school, I was like, oh, really? Do you need to? You know, Mom drives further to work every day. It's not that far. You can commute, you know. And I know she wanted to have the experience, and, you know, I took advantage of the situation and just tried to communicate with her as much as possible. And so I think with my children, our children getting older, it's been a lot more love and communication as they're growing and maturing and being more independent, you know, and just trusting God that the path that they've started on and everything that you've taught them is going to live with them, you know, and even if it's not apparent at the moment, you believing that there's that seed that's been planted and they belong to God. You know, my older two started driving back to back, so it's like, okay, where are you going and how long are you going for and who are you going with, and then of course just the travels itself. But now that they can be on their own, you have to trust that God's speaking to them and that they're going to hear his voice and they're going to be guided and make the good decisions. And then I think it's a matter of being open and willing to listen as they share things. You know, there's different phases. There's the toddler and the infant stage, and then there's the teenage stage when they're really talking to you and they don't know how to communicate or how to articulate how they're feeling. And then they get a little older and you start to see them come back again and share more, and you just have to take advantage of every phase. I call it a journey, and instead of pouting or being upset, oh, they're not babies anymore, they're graduating or they're leaving, it's rejoice with them in whatever phase they are in, and try not to judge or criticize, but steer them in the right direction and help them make the right choices. And then when they do make difficult choices, or that something does happen that's not maybe the best, it's pointing how it could have been worse, and how God was with them in that situation, and kept them safe from whatever may have happened. But prayer is just, I don't want to say overrated, but it really, really is, as a mother, the one powerful tool we have in our belt, honor.
And that's a great point you said about letting them know, like when something isn't working out, that maybe that was God's hand in there for a reason. Now it wasn't just coincidence or this or that or the other, but God keeping you safe at those times. And then as they grow too, our prayers change. So, now my biggest prayer a lot of times for my children is wisdom. Wisdom. God give them wisdom to make the right decisions and in their career and with their families. And, as a child, they're like, your prayers are like, don't fall down the stairs, and hurt yourself, that kind of thing. And as they get older, your prayers definitely change as to what you're praying for them.
Some good reminders to definitely enjoy each stage, I think, is important. I know we have a ton of new moms right now, so great reminder while you're in the thick of the newborn stages, that they are going to grow up and you're going to miss those stages, so cherish them while you have them. And it's a blessing, as we've seen here. Anything to add on that last question? Very well said, everyone. So our final question, it comes from Luke 2:19. After the shepherds went and told everyone about Jesus, the scripture says, "But Mary kept all of these things in her heart and thought about them often." Moms keep things in their hearts, sometimes unable to express their most heartfelt feelings. What is one thing you want your children to know that may not always be expressed openly or clearly? And I'm excited. I think this is a sweet one, and it's nice that some of your kids are in the room, that you get to actually share this with them. And I encourage all you moms to share with your children. Sometimes it can be a lot, and they hear a lot of no's. I've been a child. I am a child still. We all are. You get a lot of no's. You get a lot of criticism and critiques, and sometimes we can forget to share actually what we love about them and the things that we have a hard time maybe vocalizing. So whoever would like to start with that question.
Well, I'm privileged to have my kids here. I love them very much. I know I tell them that every day. I do love them, and they're truly special, and they're truly a gift from God. And I always tell my son that one day, when he really gets into his man gift and God's calling, he's going to just fly. I see that, like, he's just going to be so amazing and fly and be that amazing guy that I know he is. It's hard to say man because I'm so not used to it, even though he's 20. It really is hard. And my daughter, she's a go-getter. I'm so proud of her. She's strong. She's amazing. Sometimes she's too much for me, and I'm like, slow down, you're 16. I can't take it. But they're amazing, and they're truly a gift from God, and I'm privileged to be your mom.
What do I want my children to know? I want my children to know that I did the best I knew how. They don't come with instruction manuals. I was not a mom before. This is the first time. And I just did the best I could. Did I make mistakes? Yes. Am I perfect? No. Do I wish I could do things over again? Yes. But we can't. We don't have do-overs with our children, but we do with our grandchildren.
And all the grandparents said amen.
You know, and that a mother's love, and probably a father's love too, we have no limits. So have my children done things in their lives that have ripped my heart out? Absolutely. But you love them no matter what, just no matter what. You know, they can do wrong and they can mess up, but I'll always be here. I've been beat up, you know, so my husband's had to, you know, bring me out of some things. They've hurt, but I would lay down my life for either one of my children. I would die for them, you know. That's just part of being a mom. It's just.
I love what you said about it's your first time doing this, and that's something I've been thinking about lately. I think that's something we all grow to an age where we start to realize that about our parents, that like, oh wait, they're just people, and they're just having kids. And you know, maybe when you start to have kids of your own, it starts to become more real for you. Like, this is the first time my mom has had a 28-year-old. She's still learning things, you know. And we all can apply that to everyone in our lives. It's taught me a lot about being graceful with others, because we're all just people trying to figure this thing out, whether it's the first time we're going through a particular struggle, or the first time at a job, or the first time having a child. Just a reminder to just have some more grace, and to have more grace with yourself too, because we're all just doing the best we can.
Yeah, I wish I got some kind of a manual when I became a mom, right? I remembered everything, and there's so many things now that you look back, you're like, oh man, I wish I did things differently. I wish I had learned that. I wish someone told me that. I wish I remembered to be this way or that way, but that's not realistic. But then there's mom guilt, you know, that kicks in, and it's real. But I love how you said grace. I think that is something that, you know, I want my children to know that is something that goes a long way. Definitely, you know, perspective depending on where you are in life, and you know what shoes you're wearing at the time, and I think that makes a big difference of how you react and not react to others. But there's a quick quote that I wanted to read that I found. Being a mother is learning about strengths you didn't know you had, and dealing with fears you didn't know existed. And that just kind of struck me, you know, as I think about, you know, myself, the fear of losing control, the fear of losing control over my children, the fear of loss, the fear of failure. I think those things sometimes take over, and they sometimes act, you know, don't allow you to be as graceful as maybe you should, you know. I'm with Grace, you know, we talked about a little while ago, the 2 levels. I'm really either low-spoken, soft-spoken, or I get loud, and you know, and I have a lot of mom guilt for that, because I wish there was more times that I had been more graceful, slowed down, taken a step back, and led differently. And that's, you know, not always realistic, but recognizing that the situation could have been handled differently and apologizing, I think is, you know, you're not just teaching your children by saying, but you're teaching your children by doing. And yeah, that's certainly one thing I've learned, that it's not necessarily what you know, teach them, it's what you show them or what they see. And you know, life's not perfect, but God's grace is amazing, and He's merciful. And if we could allow a little more grace in our lives, and our children realize that we're in different perspectives and different situations, I think it allows you to be, you know, more loving and open and forgiving.
And I think too, you know, you hear, you know, how people say, you know, you need to walk the walk, not just talk the talk. And our kids know that, they see that, our children see that. You can talk all you want, but if you're not living it and you're not walking it, they know. They know, and they're watching everything you do.
That's so true, because a few weeks ago, like I said earlier, I have 2 volumes. I start off slow, calm, and then like after the second, third time asking for something, it gets higher and higher. And it's not good, and I have to learn to self-control too. So I had to apologize to my son, and that's very hard to apologize to your 20-year-old. Like, and he was honest. He goes, "You do it all the time." And I was like, that was hard to hear, but he's honest. I'm like, yes, you're right, and I'm so sorry. I'm just really trying to work on it. You know, it might not seem like it, but if you did it the first time, it wouldn't get higher. But that doesn't correct it. I have to have self-control. And it's beautiful when he can tell you that, and he can be honest. It hurts to hear, but they are real, we're real, and I think the grace, it's true, we need grace. We're hard on ourselves too.
Really, really good. Any final thoughts before we close out in some prayer? Thank you, ladies. Didn't they do amazing? So thank you for listening. Let's bow our heads. Let's pray. I want to pray for moms. I want to pray for those waiting in the waiting season to be a mom, and for those who may be grieving this holiday in this season because they have lost their moms. So let's bow and pray.